Hi there folks, welcome to RRTV's live coverage of the iRacing ANZCAR Thursday Night Thunder. We're coming to you live from Kansas for the final round here, round 14 tonight, and there is a lot to cover. As you can see folks, the drivers are out there practicing at the moment, and we're going to be bringing you qualifying in about 15 minutes time. But until then folks, let's go and wrap up how the Truck Series went at Kansas for their final round last Monday night.
Hello and welcome to the final round of the ANZCAR Monday Night Truck Series, sponsored by 131 Web Radio, coming to us tonight from Kansas. It's been a long 14-round series, but it all comes down to this final round. Michael Skurlock had the honour of starting from pole position. The pole position was actually taken by Matt Danson, but he elected to start to the back of the grid, promoting Michael to the pole position. And he didn't get to enjoy it for long. The caution came out almost immediately with Carolyn Upton getting turned across the nose of Gavin Sadler there, and on the restart the top four comprising Callow, Dodman, Lear and Skurlock all moved away, with the remainder of the trucks following there close behind them, looking to make moves early on. A bit of a midfield battle going on there, comprising Foster and Schroeder, and also Sadler and Upton working their way back up from the back of the grid as Lear led away early, with Robbie and Callow following in behind them. Nice and closely bunched at the start of the, just after that restart actually, and Dodman just making a move on his teammate Ashley Lear, and Lear just dropping there into second place. Plenty of time to fight later on in this 100 laps. James Foster made his return to ANZCAR competition with a strong run there, coming out of the midfield to begin with, as Gavin Sadler started to make his way back up through the field, and Matt Danson having an early stop there, pulling back out of the pits onto the track. I believe he had a connection issue actually that's put him quite a few laps down, as Callow led from McLeod there. Todd Maxfield being the first of many spinners out of turn 4, doing what most of them did and coming down and getting a whack into that outside wall before winding up onto the grass with a little bit of help from Sadler. And on the restart, the two Torque boys leading away again, with their teammate Mitchell McLeod sitting back there in 4th place, just looking to make a way past James Robbie and make it a Torque Inc. 1, 2, 3. Aaron Dillon running strongly there in the midfield with Terry Humphreys for company there. Schroeder and Sadler getting together. Unfortunately, it looks as though Sadler just maybe didn't know he was there and moved up across Schroeder's nose. And on the restart, Robbie getting in the middle of that all-talk party there at the front, hoping to run around the outside of both Lear and Dodman. Skurlock, of course, popping his nose in there. McLeod looking to make a move on him, with James Foster and Terry Humphreys keeping a watching brief back there in 5th and 6th places. Will Barrington had a solid run there in the midfield, just as you can see him now tucked up behind Nicholas Walsh, while Callow, Humphreys and Dillon continue to run solidly in the midfield, looking at making their way up onto the leading pack. As you can see, Robbie getting down the inside of Dodman, just giving him a little heave-ho there wide and making a move to take that position. Danson, the man who has made so few mistakes so far in this series, having a mistake there well after having wrapped up the title, so that's the best time to make them, being the second driver to actually make that error out of turn 4 and whacking with the wall there. So as you can see, we've got Lear leading away from Robbie, Skurlock there, and you've also got Dodman, Foster and Callow running in behind them. Very closely, tightly packed, as there's been a couple of cautions, keeping the pack nice and closely bunched together, and move off into some absolutely brilliant green flag racing as well, all too wide up and down the field, as you can see being demonstrated right there with these guys all running too wide as we sit on board now with James Robbie. Top 4 began to get a bit of a breakaway. As you can see, Hunter there, I believe it's Matt Hunter, working away on the back of Barrington, who had a very good run as well. And this is the point where James Foster made his move on his return to the series. First race back in the trucks for quite a long time, and he's actually decided to try to make that high line work. and actually did a great job of that and managed to get up into first place, rounding up all of the front runners. And you can see him there just working his way around the outside of Skurlock, as the other Torque trucks have obviously realised that high line is working and taking advantage of that same thing as well, with Robbie in tow, leading that big train past Skurlock as he sat there on the inside. Callow just running up there behind Nicholas Walsh, and Hoppett running in close company with Shields. James Foster continued to lead away with Dodman pressuring him. Looked very comfortable out the front for somebody who hasn't raced these things for quite a while, so he was leading quite well. But when this caution came out, everything was to change. The third truck now to go right up into the wall, Nicholas Walsh. Looks like he might have got a bit of help there. And Foster had a fairly ordinary pit stop and managed to emerge in fourth place behind the dominant Torque Inc. trio, and also Skurlock there, who's had such a strong race in this Kansas round, running up there at the front throughout. Callow slotting there into the fifth place, as James Robbie just got mired a little bit back in the midfield and is now just working his way past Barrington with any luck. Foster then just tailing onto the back. His city dropped from first to sixth place as a result of all this shaken out. The two Torque boys making a bit of a breakaway there. Dodman leading from Lear. Hoppett and Shields just continuing their battle. And nice shot there of the two Torque trucks running there together up the front, and actually managed to work a Torque Inc. 1-2-3, so they'll be thrilled with that. Hayden Dodman leading home, his teammate Ashley Lear with their other teammate Mitchell McLeod coming home in third place. So fantastic way to finish off this season. It's been an absolutely brilliant series. Quite a few different winners, dominated in the points by Matt Danson, of course, Nicholas Walsh and James Robbie taking the top three positions there. I believe Robbie actually snatched that third position from Maxfield at this final round. So stay tuned. Next few weeks we've got season 2 coming, and a whole lot more besides. So stay tuned and enjoy tonight's Thunder.
So there you go, folks. That was last Monday's wrap-up of the Truck Series, and what a fantastic race that turned out to be. And congratulations to the podium. Dodman came third, Lear second, and Mitch McLeod took out that win. Having a look at how those points finished.
Hello, welcome to the final.
Wrong button, people. Let's try it again. Let's have a look at how the Monday night series did wrap up. Well, Matt Danson, he took the series. Nicholas Walsh came in second on 475 points. James Golden Boy Robbie comes home in third. Todd Maxfield, he finished in fourth. Fifth was Steve Hoppett. You'll hear from him a bit later on tonight. Nicholas Shields, he finished in sixth. Seventh, Michelle Callow. Eighth was Ashley Lear. Ninth, Sam Katakazinos. And rounding out the top 10 in that series was Mirko Dortnack. So congratulations to all of those drivers. And it was a fantastic series, that's for sure. There will be the Truck Series coming back next season. And stay tuned to the Facebook ANZCAR page for all the latest news on when that's going to happen. But as you can see, folks, we have 6 minutes of practice to go. And but before we get into that, let's have a look at the points coming in to tonight's final round. So Jason Martin, he's wrapped up the series on 566 points, but it's not about who's going to win this tonight. It's about who's going to set the podium. Josh Mickelmore, 500 points. He's got to keep an eye on Thomas Hinds behind him on 479 points. Dave Douglas also, don't count him out. He's 10 points behind Thomas Hinds on 469 points. Fifth is Stephen Williams on 453, and he's one of the movers after last round. Matt Clowett, sixth on 423. Edward Foster, he will be trying to beat Matt Clowett to take that spot. He's on 421 points. Danny G, he's in 8th on 417. 409 is Darren McKenzie. And rounding out the top 10 is Riley Curtis on 381. So I tell you what, Steve, there's a lot to play for in this top 10 tonight.
Oh, absolutely, Bernie. G'day, Ryan. G'day, Bernie. G'day, all the viewers out there watching through the various links, YouTube, etc. Look, there's a lot to play for tonight. The guys know it's the last one. It comes right down to this. Regardless of what's happening in the top 1 or 2 or 3 there's still a lot of wiggle room, and the trucks showed that. At the start of the round on Monday night in the trucks, I actually thought that the top 4 was set. That was it. But it turned out that James Robbie managed to steal a position from Todd Maxfield, and the finishing round had actually, the order up until then had actually been Danson, then Walsh, then Maxfield, then Robbie, and then some other bloke. But look, what it turned out to be was that Robbie and Maxfield swapped places purely on the fact that they were just close enough that the finishes actually dictated that. So as far as tonight's concerned, there's still a possibility of a few positional changes there. This is a fantastic track for it too. Like, this is a lot of good open fast racing here. There's a couple of spots, if your tyres go off, you've got to be real careful. Turn 4, I think Ryan will be more than aware. Turn 4 here can be a real danger spot. Isn't that right, Ryan?
Yeah, turn 4 is the biggest spot here. It's where the car, it wants to go all the way up to the wall, and you want to go all the way up to the wall, but it's a little bit tighter than you expect it to be. And see a couple of right sides bent in from it also.
Yeah, before we get into that though, guys, there's something I need to share with you guys and the viewers. You haven't seen this, and it's top secret. It's come straight out of the garage of one of the competitors. And Steve, one question I've got for you is 21, Jason Martin. He has been absolutely dominant this season, and I've got a picture here of what some of the competitors are going to try to beat this man on track. And I just want to cover this off very quickly, and then I'll let you guys build up tonight's round. So I got a video sent earlier in the week, folks, marked top secret. I had a look. I was very, very impressed, and we'll bring this rig up now. So this rig was sent in by Bruce Smith, and this rig is something to behold. I tell you what, they're calling this the Devil R, and it is something to behold. It's pretty awesome. From what I've seen, it's very fast-moving, motion active VR outfit. It's got no lag, very accurate. He's still in the prototype. This is the second prototype he's built, and they're going to be looking at selling this down the track, if it all works out, as a semi-retail version for select customers if people are interested in this. But I tell you what, Steve, what some drivers are going to try to beat the 21 is pretty incredible.
Mate, that's a flashback to the Mercury space program and the testing that the astronauts had to go through. Looking at that, I hope Bruce's life insurance is paid up, because it looks like a dangerous piece of equipment.
Yeah, it certainly does. And when I saw the video, I thought two things. That's nuts. I want to have a go. But anyway, so
pretty much, yeah. I think sitting in that though, I think you'd have to actually wear the crash helmet too.
Yeah, but I want to put it out to all the drivers looking at this. Next season, I want to put it out there. Each driver, I want you to send in a picture of your rig, what you're using, so we can show the viewers. It doesn't matter if it's as fancy as this one or it's just a joystick. We don't care. We want to show the viewers exactly what our drivers are using out there, and give them some idea what this esport's about. But anyway, I've gone on too long. Going to hand you back to Steve and Ryan Shelton. They're going to call the final round, round 14 of the Thursday Night Thunder. It's over to you guys.
No worries. Yeah, thanks, Bernie. As we started to get into, because Ryan and I already started to hook into what was the danger spots are in this track, and we saw Monday night that the real issue we had, apart from a couple of little sort of, the human factor, I suppose, but the main problem we had when we saw a few guys on the highlights reel, for instance, it was turn 4, coming out of turn 4. Matt Danson did it, Nick Walsh did it, a couple of the other guys did it. you come out of there and it's just, it must be just the camber on that particular corner, Ryan. I don't know, but the rear end seems to step a little bit and then it just gets loose on you. Is that what's going on?
Not really. I mean, it's just a matter of, the way the track is shaped and how you want to get up out of the corner. And also, this is sort of a slick track. It was paved about 10 years ago when they added in the progressive banking, which allows for the high line, what you're seeing, that's going to be the dominant line tonight. So, it's just a matter of the progressive banking, and also they're just trying to get as much power down as much as they can. And that's what's going to cause some of these guys to go through the infield grass.
Yeah, I found the other night, I noticed it more later on looking at the replay, obviously, because, being in the car in the race on Monday night, I certainly wouldn't have noticed it as much, but looking at the replay of the race afterwards, I certainly didn't even realise when I was doing it that I was actually going as quick, if not quicker, on the outside line, on that high line. During the race, it's all heat of the moment stuff, and you just do what you got to do. But then you look at it afterwards, and you're going, "Oh yeah, I was having a good run on the outside line," So, but if we actually take our minds back to last week, the Thunder round, the post-race interview, and my question to Jason Martin was that we were coming to Kansas next week, and was he looking forward to that round? And his reply was, no, it's an outside line track, and I don't like the outside line. It doesn't work for me. And he was bang on, because we could see that the outside line works here. There were guys who got a really good run on Monday night, and I expect the same thing to happen tonight.
Yeah, as we watch Daniel Stevens come around for his first qualifying lap, he's going to put down a 30.235, and that will put him currently at the top, but he's the only guy who has put down a full lap so far. And yeah, like you're saying, the top line is dominant around here, and that makes passing a little bit harder, but it also makes passing a little bit more scary. And it makes it a little more exciting for us, because what's going to end up happening is some of these guys are just going to try throwing it down on the inside one good time, and they're going to try doing the old dirt, the old speedway slide job, try to get up next to the wall.
I think we'll probably end up seeing that. The outside line's definitely dominant, but as those tyres start to go off, it's going to make it harder and harder to maintain the speed on that outside line too, isn't it, right?
No, not typically. Typically, the car likes to tighten up, and with a tight car, you always want to run higher than you do. So the higher you run with a tighter car, it's going to be a little bit better. You can't run the low line when it gets tight. If a car stays loose, then you might be able to run it, but if it runs loose, then it's going to be hard to get off the corner, which also running high makes it easier to do. So I think we're going to stay a high line all the way around the track. As you see, Matthew Cloet, he runs that bottom line there, and then he moves all the way up. That's a little backwards. A lot of people you'll see run the higher line than the low line.
Yeah, so with qualifying ongoing at the moment, what we're actually seeing out there is some interesting stuff. I think from what I'm actually seeing here, we've got Norman Clark sitting on provisional pole at the moment on a 30.0. Danny G's just, Danny G's just actually, that was a 29.999 for Norman Clark, 30.029 for Danny G. Mirko's actually pulled out a 30.1, another 30.144 for Matt Cloet. Phil Otto provisionally sitting fifth at the moment, and great to see Phil up there on a 30.168. And Daniel Stevens on a 30.234. The only other lap I've got listed here at the moment is James Zeitz, who's on a 30.246. A little bit off the pace, but he's actually out there at the moment. I think he's actually about to run his second time lap. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, we got James Zeitz on screen currently. It looks like he's on his cool-down lap there, as he will finish off with a 30.246. Dwayne Priest just finished up his second lap with a 30.249, which is currently slowest, but it's only 8th fastest, so he might get away with it. Maybe we'll have some other mistakes, but practice laps, The fastest lap in practice was with, let me double check here, it was Danny G. He ran a 9.44 in practice. The slowest lap time in practice was Darren McKenzie with a 30.317. So normally qualifying laps are a little bit slower. Track's been used up, plus you only get 2 chances versus, as much as you want. But with Danny G being fastest in practice, that showed me that he's got some speed under him, and also Daniel Stevens has figured something out with this car too. He's in 3rd in practice, but currently he is 6th on the qualifying board.
Edward Foster out there on track at the moment, just waiting for him to register a time. Did a 30.028 in practice, Ryan, but I'm expecting, I don't think Edward will crack that on his qualifying lap. I think he'll go close, but that's actually markedly faster. Yeah, there he goes, a 31.0. So he was slightly off that practice time. As you were saying, the practice laps appear to be a little more quick than the times we're seeing laid down so far by the same guys.
Yeah, Roger Clark actually went his fastest with a 30.1 flat. I do believe Edward Foster may have had some kind of issue because he's a second off the pace. So we'll see if he can improve on that lap time as he comes across the line. Now he'll end up getting the same 31.0. So he must have hit the wall, tapped the wall or something, because he actually did not register a lap that last lap. So Edward Foster is going to be one to be looking at through. We're trying to run through this field.
Yeah, Edward. I expect Edward to put in another good showing. He's had a good run lately in a variety of different cars, but I expect to see Edward toward the front tonight, barring any unforeseen disasters. But look, a guy who definitely went quicker than his practice time, not by a lot, but it was enough. And that Norman, who's the only one to score a 29 in the qualifying session so far, Ryan.
Yeah, if you look at the official timing, it's showing 29.9 and a 30.0. So on our screens, we're seeing a 1/100th or 1,000th of a second. On your screen, you're actually seeing a tie race. So it does show that we have a tie for the pole currently, but on our screens we are showing a little bit of a difference, but it's only about 1/1000th of a second. So with the top 4 being within a tenth of each other, I do believe we're going to have a really close race on our hands.
Oh, absolutely. And looking at who it is at the top there so far, I mean, we've still got a few guys to run. But Norman Clark, then Riley Curtis, then Danny G, then Roger Clark, and Mirko Doubtnack. There's your top 5 at the moment. But we've got, I think, Jason Martin yet to actually run. Oh, no, he's out there on track at the moment. Still waiting on a time from Darren McKenzie, Josh Micklemore, and Stephen Williams as well.
Yeah, Jason Martin's going to try stopping it before he gets that line, which he will not be able to because he actually tapped the wall. So he's going to forfeit his first lap, or he might even try to run it, dirty like that to give him some kind of a difference, or, maybe some kind of a race, because I do believe that if he qualified just out front, he might have just ran away with this one. But looking at the practice times, he actually wouldn't have ran away with it. So we'll see what he can do. He does have some damage and a lot of he had off track, so this lap will not count. He will have to run one more lap to actually get a lap that does count for him.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but at the same time, he'll face the challenge of coming from further back. Although he's actually out there at the moment, I know his first lap certainly wouldn't have counted. But waiting to see if he can actually produce a time there. 32.3, yeah. Not a great time. In fact, I'm a bit surprised at that. Was that the lap where he touched the wall?
Yeah, he's still running around. He finished up his last lap, and it looked like either it didn't count or that was the second one. So he's not gonna qualify on pole. He will start in the back of the field. Jason Martin will start in the back of the field.
I think it'll be a case of challenge accepted as far as Jason's concerned. I won't say that he didn't want to come here or that he was worried about it, but yeah, it's certainly, from what he was saying, the car is a little bit loose, and it's not one of his favourite tracks. But he'll do what he always does, and he'll race hard and see where he can actually come from. But where he can wind up, I mean, rather than we know he's coming from somewhere towards the back at the moment. But we're still waiting on a lap time for Josh Micklemore and Darren McKenzie, and neither of which are actually out on track at the moment, Ryan.
No, we just saw Stephen Williams go around, and he got one lap in, and his second lap he hit the turn 2 wall, so that will finish up his qualifying. He will finish up with a 31.3. So we got a couple of 31s out there, a lot of them just due to maybe just playing it safe, trying to get a lap in, then going hard on their second one to where they maybe tap the wall or something. So you see Jason Martin's just trying to do a little bit of extra practice or what have you. So right now we're just waiting on Josh Micklemore and Darren McKenzie to put down a lap, and that will finish up our qualifying session of 17 cars. They will not take time for tonight's race.
Well, fantastic to see Norman Clark up front. We got Norman Clark on pole position with Riley Curtis alongside him. So that's going to be very interesting. Bruce Smith is sitting on the inside of the second row, and he's going to want to get to the front as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and with the 110 laps we have to run tonight, I think he's got enough time to make up all that, make up all the places that he lost in qualifying.
But looking good there. Just waiting for the cars to complete gridding up. So if we actually take a look at the way they line up for behind the pace car at the moment, we've obviously got Norman Clark sitting in pole position, and then alongside him on the outside will be Riley Curtis. Then Bruce Smith coming out of third on the inside line, and fourth place starting is Danny G, who's actually on the outside. Then on the inside in the third row, Roger Clark with Mirko Doutnak alongside him starting from sixth on the outside. That's going to be a very interesting start, I'm afraid. So what we also need now is Matt Clowett on seventh, and then Phil Otto starting from eighth. Pardon me. And then we've got Daniel Stevens, I believe, starting out of 11th. 12th place, Dave Douglas is where Dave's actually going to be coming from. And he's going to have Edward Foster and Stephen Williams in behind him. And then, of course, Jason Martin, who didn't have a great qualifying session. And then Josh Micklemore and Darren McKenzie starts out of 17th position. And that's going to be very interesting tonight. There's a lot of names at the back that you would normally expect to see at least towards the front. And with Norman Clark and Riley Curtis off the front row, I just can't wait to see how that's going to work.
Yeah, and it's going to be a little more interesting watching Jason and Josh, two of our fastest guys, run up through the field from the back. But it is nice to see a couple of new faces take the green flag as we see the pace car here in that Ford Mustang. He's about to dip off here as they come off turn number 4. As you see the pace car go off, Roger Clark has control of the field. He went as soon as the pace car left, and that caught Edward Foster or Roger Clark, Bruce Smith off guard, and that put him way back. And now Riley Curtis will be riding in that 4th position after starting in 1st. Bruce Smith in that 13 car is going to try taking the lead from Roger Clark here on the first lap going into turn 3.
Yeah, Norman Clark is leading, and Bruce Smith makes the move, takes the lead on that one, as Norman just lets him go. There's absolutely nothing you can do about that. Bruce Smith carrying a tremendous amount of speed through that turn. But there's a long way to go. So Norman's not new to this. He knows exactly how the things go, and he'll probably do he'll be on the long plan for tonight, I would imagine.
Yeah, these tires do tend to wear out pretty quickly, especially on this new tire compound that they're running for the NASCAR cars this year. So it is going to be interesting to see just how much some of these guys can take care of their car.
Yeah, what I do find interesting is, of course, that Roger Clark has now moved up to third, and Riley Curtis behind him in fourth place. Riley, of course, started on the front row alongside Norman Clark. Then we've got Matt Clowett up to fifth, and Danny G's dropped a couple of spots. He's back to sixth position now, Ryan.
Yeah, and you're going to see some of these guys, they're going to have some pretty ruined fenders, as we see Roger Clark here in the third position, and he's already got his damaged right side from hitting the wall. So you're going to see some of these guys are going to be running right next to that outside wall, trying to get as much speed as they can down these very long straightaways and try to keep their speed up, try to get some of that momentum to carry them through the race.
Matt Clowett not having a bad run. He's actually gotten past Norman Clark now. So the order's actually jumping around a little bit. Actually, no, sorry, Danny G's in front of. The MFR cars all running very similar liveries. I just got to remember who's in what colour. But yeah, Danny G that is. And as we actually look at Roger Clark still running in third position, Riley Curtis behind him, then Matt Clowett, Danny G, Daniel Stevens in seventh, Mirko Doutnak back to eighth position. James Zeitz still inside the top 10 in ninth, and Dave Douglas rounds out the 10.
Yeah, and if you want to, just any idea of how hard it is to pass around here, Jason Martin is still in 15th position where he started. Josh Micklemore has moved up a few places from his 16th starting position, but that was just out of just sheer luck that he was able to get a couple of spots. But Jason Martin is still hanging out in that 15th position, so we'll see if he can't move up through the field throughout tonight, as we do have Matthew Clowett on the inside of Riley Curtis trying to take away that fourth position from him.
The guy who seems to have gotten an absolute shocker of a start, he's sunk like a rock in a pond, and that's poor old Phil Otto, who actually had a pretty reasonable start. He actually started on the 8th on the grid, as back to now in 15th position ahead of Darren McKenzie and Stephen Williams.
Yeah, he must have just got trapped on an inside line. A lot of times that's what tends to happen with, if you see somebody who's just dropped really bad, is that what will happen is that they'll get on that inside line and people will just start passing them, and they have no way to get up into that top line. There's just no room to get in there.
Yeah, and we've got Jason Martin all over the back of, who's that? Dwayne Priest, actually, running 13th and 14th at the moment, as Jason just starts to make his way through the field as they all settle down a little bit. To round about this time that you start to see a few gaps open up and the field starts to decompress a little bit, so it gives a little bit of room for Jason Martin to start to move up a couple of spots, so we'll start to see him advance a little bit. Phil Otto still back there in 15th, but Bruce Smith continues to lead from Norman Clark and Roger Clark, with Matt Clowett in 4th and Riley Curtis rounding out the top 5 at the moment.
Riley Curtis just got into that outside wall, and it almost made a huge collision between him, the two MFR guys, and Mirko Doutnak. Now Riley Curtis will be riding in that 7th position behind both the MFR cars, but his right side is really caved in, and Mirko is trying to really capitalize on that damage that he has, because now that car is just not going to run very well. It looks like he's really overdriving it right now, and that's going to allow Mirko to kind of dive down, and here comes the rest of the pack for Riley Curtis, who had a promising start in that 2nd position, but he's starting to fall like a rock right about now.
Yeah, he's just touched the wall again, Ryan. Just a little bit of a brush in front of Josh Micklemore, who's smelled a bit of blood in the water. And Riley is definitely suffering. He's got Mirko Doutnak in front of him, Josh Micklemore about to pull up alongside, and Edward Foster right in his rear bumper. So, yeah, he's a bit of a lame duck out there at the moment. He needs to find a line and he needs to find some speed. But his teammate Edward Foster's in behind him to try and help him out a little bit. But the damage he's got along the right-hand front there, it'd be interesting to see how much of a difference that makes as Mirko gives the wall a really good rub and runs along it for several metres. Sparks everywhere off that one.
Yeah, there was about a line of about 4 of them who went into that turn 1 wall, and it looks like that's what a lot of guys are going to end up doing. A lot of right side of the car. Oh, Mirko gets into the wall, huge, and he tried to keep Edward Foster from passing him, but that was almost too late, and that's his car is ruined too. So, like I was saying in the pre-race, that turn 4 wall really comes out in front of you, especially on these long runs, and the car starts to tighten up. And that's going to allow these guys to, some of these guys at the back, like Jason Martin and Josh Micklemore, to make some of these passes a little bit easier.
Yeah, after my disaster of coming into the wall a little bit too hard at Dover, I sort of learned my lesson, and that was something that was actually on my mind on Monday night, was that turn 4 wall. And I think I managed to avoid it all night long somehow. But Mirko certainly didn't miss it that time. And Edward Foster's taken advantage of that, and he's actually pulled a pretty good buffer over Mirko at the moment, with Daniel Stevens ahead of him, Roger Clark in 5th ahead of him, with the leader Bruce Smith still going from Norman Clark, Matt Clowett and Danny G in the top 4. So just waiting to see how they're going to pan out a little bit further. Edward's got that spot, but Mirko's not given up. He's closed that gap a little bit.
Yeah, Mirko has started to close that gap a little bit on Edward Foster. His teammate further back, Riley Curtis, it's not his teammate, but further back, back in that 10th position. That battle for 10th has just started to liven up a lot. We were 3 wide for a few laps in a row where it was Jason Martin and Edward Foster, Riley Curtis, and a few others in there. Dave Douglas, James Zeit. So big names throughout this field are down the run, as we just see Dave Douglas give the wall a little bit of a tap there. And this race back here for the 10th place is getting really, really feisty.
Yeah, it would have been good to see Thomas Hens in here tonight for the final round, but Thomas hasn't been able to make it tonight, which is a bit of a shame. But we'll see how we're going to get plenty of action here anyway. So it would have been nice just to see Thomas's name in there and mixing it up with the guys for the final race. But he obviously wasn't able to be here, so we've got a 17-car field and everybody's still running. And I think everybody's still on the lead lap, which is nice.
Yeah, one of the biggest things I'm starting to see as I'm looking around some of the other cars, the top 5 are the only cars in the field that have, completely clean cars. The rest of them, Dwayne Priest has a clean car, but most everybody else either has a right side caved in, or in Edward Foster's case, he has a left side caved in. It might be lag on my part, but as we see here, Mirko and Roger Clark are starting to go at it here for the 7th position.
Yeah, but just noticing Roger Mirko had no problem at all passing him then. It was just looked too easy. I don't know whether Roger got a little bit loose there, just washed off a little bit of speed or what, but he certainly picked it back up again now. Mirko took advantage of it and got past him, but he's certainly not pulling away from Roger at this point.
Yeah, it looks like Roger's actually trying to move his line away from that top line. Maybe try to keep some of that damage off the car, or just trying to find a comfortable line down here at the bottom. He's probably just more comfortable down here. But that is going to be slower as Dwayne Priest is going to start to make his way up to him, and he's going to pass him like he's just standing still here in a moment if Roger Clark continues running that low line here.
And as we looking at the back of Dave Douglas's vehicle at the front of Jason Martin's Mustang at the moment, and Dave Douglas a little bit too close to the wall, and lots of sparks off there. Great view indeed. As we see Stephen Williams in behind Jason Martin, and Phil Otto making a move down the inside line now with James Zeitz following him through.
Yeah, the only way really to make that inside line work is that you get a really good run off of them, off of one of the corners, either turn 4 or turn 1, and then just kind of throw it in there and try to get in front of them to try to make sure they can't accelerate off the corner, try to ruin their run, and then hope and pray they don't come back and do the same thing to you. That's really about the only way to really make a pass run here. So you see Jason Martin is still stuck in that 12th position. He's only gained 3 spots since the beginning of the race. Normally, after 20 laps, you would think Jason Martin would probably be fighting for the lead about now, but currently he's just having a hard time passing these guys.
Well, that time across the line, it's actually got Jason registered up into 12th now, so he is actually starting to make a bit of a move. He's still sitting in behind Dave Douglas at the moment. Dave's putting up a hell of a good fight, but I'm noticing Jason Martin, that front right corner is looking a little bit second-hand, Ryan.
Yeah, just about everybody back here is going to have a damaged car of some sort. I think Phil Otto is about the only one, really. Him and Steve Williams have some clean cars, but it's just so hard to pass around here that it's going to be pretty impossible for some of these guys to get around just because it's just how hard it is. Jason Martin does make the pass on Dave Douglas. Now he's going to have his sights set on Josh Micklemore here.
Yep, all right. Stephen Williams as well. He's still in the fight. As we take the view from the back of Jason Martin's Mustang, we got Dave Douglas and Stephen Williams side by side there with Josh Micklemore just getting his nose in. A bit of a photo bomb on the video angle there, and getting his nose in there. He's also been passed by Jason Martin, obviously.
Yeah, Jason Martin is he started to find his rhythm here, and he's starting to really put down some really solid laps. So even after passing Josh Micklemore and having to make that pass, he ran a 30.936. The lead driver of Bruce Smith, he ended up only doing a 30.126. So you're going to start to see Jason Martin, who's starting to make some time here. He's about a tenth of a second quicker than the leader on track. So he does have a very, very large space he's got to make up. He's got about 8 seconds he's got to make up to Bruce Smith, but I do believe if he can continue running his pace and maybe get some green flag stops run his way, he might end up catching him as he runs a 30.89. So currently I do believe Jason Martin is the fastest man on track, as everybody else is running in the high 30s to 32s. He did run a 31.8. So just behind him, and Steve Williams was about the only guy who was faster than him, and Steve Williams has he has a clean car versus Jason Martin's no.
Yeah, just looking at some of the comments in there, and yeah, good day to a few people that are actually in the live chat on the YouTube channel at the moment, but RRTV. James Foster, and he's mentioned in there no Thomas Hinds, and that Martin hasn't made much progress, but he has now. He's up a few spots and starting to make his presence known. Good day to Phil Worley, as well as everybody else that's in there. We can see all sorts of people in there at the moment. Yeah, DH, how are you? And that looks like Dave Douglas's signature there, saying "Go Dave Douglas." I'm his biggest fan. Yeah, okay. We get that, Dave. All right. Bruce Smith continues to lead in the final round from Kansas for the ANZCAR Thursday Night Thunder Series on RRTV. And if you've just joined us, this is Steve Hoppett and the haystack man himself, Ryan Shelton, with us. And Bernie is there and he's pushing the button. So I hope you're enjoying the stream as we watch Bruce Smith continue to lead this one from Norman Clark, Matt Cloward in third, Danny G in fourth, Greskowitz is I think what it is, and Edward Foster rounding out the top five for you there, Ryan. Yeah,
and we got Edward Foster moving up. He's moved up from 13th to 5th as we see the 93 of Riley Curtis come down and make his first pit stop here. He's going to get that car all fixed up. They do have a fast repair. I don't think it was intentional. And we do have Josh Micklemore out on track. He actually just spun out somehow. Has not brought out the caution just yet because he did spin off the racing surface. But he did get loose down in front stretch. I just saw he ended up hitting the wall coming off turn 4 as we go to the replay for that one. And that's going to really ruin his car.
Yeah, some pretty serious damage to the right rear quarter of that vehicle too, Ryan.
Yeah, and luckily they do have that fast repair. It's not. They weren't supposed to have the fast repair, but I believe it was left on for the other series that will be running tomorrow or Friday. Saturday, my bad. Saturday
Australian time, Friday night US time. Yeah.
Right. So Saturday afternoon, they do have a cup race, and they will be doing one fixed repair in that to try to keep more of the drivers in. Because last time we did run at Bristol, and Jason Martin was the only one who finished on the lead lap. So we're going to try to help out some of the competitors as Dwayne Priest finally gets into the wall for his first time back here in the 7th position. Jason Martin will go ahead and take advantage of that, and he'll move his way up to the 7th position.
Well, it's certainly narrowing the number of clean cars down a little bit, Ryan.
Oh, wow. That was Jason Martin and Mirko Delanak. They just got into it. Jason Martin just did not notice. I guess he didn't notice or something because he gave him a slight little tap coming off the corner. As we go to the replay to look at that, I've got to put that one on Jason Martin. He saw that Mirko was down there. Mirko really wasn't that far up the track at all. I mean, he was close to the racing surface, but I mean, he wasn't on it. So he did kind of move up a little bit, but what is it?
I'm not quite sure really what happened there, but it almost looked as though Jason got loose and just went to the right. It's as simple as that. I missed something in the visual of it there, but it looks like he just misjudged where Mirko was on track by the looks of it.
Yeah, so Jason Martin's car is a little beat up. He's going to try to make up some of his position he's just lost, because he's just lost out from 7th to 9th. His car is a bit secondhand at 32.3. Oh, Josh McLaurin back behind him. Roger Clark, my bad. Roger Clark got huge loose with James Zeitz. He got major loose. It looks like, James Zeitz came up and he just tagged him. I guess he thought he was clear, but that was a really good save by Roger Clark there in that 09 car. That was an unbelievable save. That has slowed him and the 08 of Darren McKenzie down. And also James Zeitz. That was a huge save. And now there's a huge wreck with Roger Clark coming off turn 4. And that was, again, it looks like he just got loose here, hitting the wall, and he bounced off the 10 of Dave Douglas. His night just went from really good to really, really bad. He was running it. He's qualified in the 5th position. Now he's back here in the 13th position.
Oh, yeah. Nasty. Yeah, no, that's a bit of a mess, that one. Yeah, just looking at that replay again. Roger, he's doing the pirouettes now, so he's going to be carrying a fair bit of damage on that vehicle. And I expect to see him pit fairly shortly as soon as he finds the opportunity, and he'll maybe even try and get some repairs done to that bodywork. But I'm hoping he actually takes a chance to go in now while he's under caution, but we'll just have to wait and see on that one. But waiting to see who pits, and Bruce Smith leads most of the field in. Probably find most of the guys will go in at the moment because it's been a while since they've had a chance. There's a few staying out. Mirko, I think, staying out, and I think it's Riley Curtis as well.
Yeah, some of these guys may have already taken their pit. Riley Curtis being one of them, he did pit. Mirko is trying to get his lap back also from pitting. So some of these guys are just trying to get their lap back. Norman Clark will have that first pit stall, so we'll see if he can take advantage of it and get out before Bruce Smith. So you see, most all of these guys are going to take 4 tires, as Bruce Smith will be the first off. And then we'll see Danny G just barely get out in front of Matthew Clutt and Roger Clark there. And then Edward Foster will be right behind them.
We'll probably see Mirko get the blow-by as the lucky dog. He's both he and Riley are being marked as a lap down at the moment, and Mirko's the first car lap down, so he'll probably get the lucky dog. But that's why both of those guys have just stayed out there at the moment. So we'll have to see how that works out as the rest of the field then joins in behind them. So we'll get these positions sorted out next time across the line, and actually work out who technically is sitting where, although under the caution, the cars should have all held the position they were in when it came out.
Yeah, they just went ahead. They pitted right before that caution came out, so they will just drive around the pace car as soon as they get one to go, and they'll start on the inside of the. Both start on the inside line. So we'll see if they can't make their way through it.
Yeah, that'll put them back on the lap again once they get in and they hook around before it goes back to green again. So they'll get that lap back without a problem. Then it's just a matter of working their way through the field.
So it looked like a bunch of people did take their fast repair. James Zeitz did not take his fast repair. Neither did Roger Clark, which is a bit odd for him. He hit the wall really hard, and that car is really destroyed. So both of them will be out there in second-hand cars. Dwayne Priest didn't take it, but his car is still pretty well up. But everybody else seems to have very clean cars as we race around here at a grand total of 100 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, we're actually still on lap 39 with the effective leader being Bruce Smith and Danny G behind him, followed by Matt Clowett. And great to see Norman Clark, who started on pole and is still sitting fourth after up to 40 laps now. So with 110 laps in the event, we've got 70 laps to go, and it's going to be great to see how we go on this restart. We've had Mirko Doutnak and Riley Curtis both given the wave by to pass the pace car, so they'll pull that lap back, and that puts everybody back on the lead lap again, Ryan.
Yeah, everybody's going to be back on the lead lap, and one of the biggest things to watch here is going to be Jason Martin, see if he can actually pass people or if he's just going to stay where he's at, because he is starting on the inside line. Inside line here is definitely not the best place to start. It's actually one of the worst places to start here. Inside line, middle of the pack, so he's going to have nowhere to go, and it's going to be rough for him to even try to make his positions. He's had really hard time already, but it's probably going to get really hard as Bruce Smith is about to have control over this field once the Ford Mustang pace car runs down on the inside. And he drops off. Bruce Smith has control over this field. He waits a little bit longer than what Norman Clark did, but he's going to get going, and that's going to leave Danny G behind him, and Matthew Clowett will try to capitalize on his third place, and he currently has. He has been moving up through the field really, really well.
Yeah, with the field bunched up again, it's good to see who, and interesting to see who's actually going to be competing with who. As we got Edward Foster and Norman Clark side by side. Edward takes that position, and in behind him, I think we have is that Dwayne Priest? Actually Stephen Williams, pardon me, and Jason Martin with Dwayne Priest on the inside of them. They're all over the back of Norman Clark now.
Yeah, and so we saw Jason Martin managed to make up a few spots on that restart. He's up in the 7th position currently, right behind Stephen Williams and above Dwayne Priest. Dwayne Priest just gets out of it a little early so he can get in the Congo line that runs the wall here. And Jason Martin is trying to make a few passes happen. He's trying to make them himself as Stephen Williams just got off that turn 4 wall. And we got another car in the back who's all spun around. It might be Roger Clark has spun around again. His night has gone from bad to worse, and he will he's going to try to stay on the lead lap as the rest of this race happens. So he goes
Roger there. He managed to get it back on the track, so whether he actually suffered any further damage and all that, I'm not really sure, but it certainly did cost him track position and distance, because he's now at the back of the pack, And with all that that damage that he appears to still be carrying, that is going to actually hurt his chances of any real competitive speed as well.
Yeah, and you can just see there on the replay that he just got a little loose by himself because the car is just really, really damaged up, and he's put it into the pit road here, and he's going to try to get his car all fixed up. Hopefully he can get back out there and maybe get his lap back sooner than later.
Okay, just checking on a couple of positions throughout the field. Just taking a look at Matt Clowett at the moment, sitting in second position, up from a couple of spots at the start. And he's had a little bit of a mixed race. I mean, he's sort of been there, but sort of back a couple. Now he's back up to second position and trying to run down Bruce Smith in that 13 car. Bruce has got about 4 car lengths on him. Behind Matt, sitting in third, is Danny G, and then Edward Foster in fourth position. Jason Martin now rounding out the top 5, Ryan.
Yeah, he slowly but surely has started to make his way up through the field. Currently lapping at a 30.866, where Bruce Smith is actually at a 30.7, and right behind him is Matthew Clowett is a 31.0. So Jason Martin is not the fastest guy on this track. He's not really enjoying this race. It's definitely a trying race for him. The rest of the season has been mostly easy, except for Road America, where he had some issues there. But this race, this is the mile and a half that we thought he would just dominate, lead, make sure that nobody could pass him, because it's super hard to pass around here. But he's having issues as he does go around, or he's trying to make a pass around Edward Foster here through 3 and 4.
Well, that's it. I mean, as I said in the interview, post-race interview last round, he certainly wasn't enthusiastic about coming here. So he's obviously raced here before, and he knows what the track's like, and obviously just doesn't suit his driving style. He's made up plenty of spots, but it's certainly, it's certainly not quite the Jason Martin performance that we're used to seeing. He had a poor qualifying session, and although he's picked up a lot of spots through the race, he's into the top 5 now, and I can't help but think that he'll struggle a little bit with that car damage to really make a massive impression on the guys ahead of him.
It looks like Edward Foster might have had an issue there, because he just got way out of the way, and now he's dropping like a rock. So I'm not sure what happened there. Is Dwayne Priest, he's going to try to make a pass here on Norman Clark in that number 6 car, as Dwayne Priest makes a very clean pass, and that looks like he was trying to go for 2, trying to pass Jason Martin there also. So we'll see if that happens. Back up to the front, it's actually getting pretty interesting here. Bruce Smith is starting to lose ground to Matthew Clowett. Matthew Clowett did lose a little bit there in the middle, but now we're working lap 50, and Matthew Clowett is actually starting to bring that half a second gap back to Bruce Smith here. And then he's going to try to close up that half second, try to gain that time back, and he is actually starting to make a huge run at him, as he's now only 4/10 behind Bruce Smith here in the number 13 Ford Mustang.
Well, Roger Clark showing a little bit of pace at the moment. He's been to the pits and had that damage repaired, so he's able to actually be a bit more competitive now and carry a bit more speed. So he's actually making things interesting, although I'm just trying to see exactly where he's located. He's 2 laps down at the moment. So Roger's actually racing to unlap himself and get back on the lead lap with these guys, as Bruce Smith continues to maintain that bit of a gap there to Matt Clowett. And with Roger now in between the two of them, it'd be interesting to see how this is going to work out. Matt Clowett brings a little bit closer up to Roger Clark, but it's Bruce Smith that he's actually racing for position, not Roger. Roger is actually out of sync in the field there at the moment.
Yeah, Roger Clark is trying to do what Bill Elliott did in the it was the 84 or 85 Talladega, where he went 2 laps down, and he's trying to make both of those laps back by himself. One of those laps was given back to him because everybody pitted. The other lap he drove himself through the field. and around the track to get that lap back. But as you see Roger Clark here, he's trying to get to at least one lap down so that if a caution does come out, he can just unlap himself by not pitting. But with that traffic, it has absolutely ruined Matthew Clowett's run to try to catch up to Bruce Smith. Maybe the traffic being with Bruce Smith now might make it a little bit easier for Matthew Clowett to catch back up.
Well, if Bruce Smith's going to sit in behind Roger Clark in the way that he's doing it at the moment, that's going to make it probably a whole lot more difficult for Matt Clowett. I mean, it's only a 1.5 mile track, but if Bruce can successfully stay in behind Roger there, it gets Roger that lap back, which it's done now. He's now only one lap down. But at the same time, it's going to assist Bruce Smith in keeping a gap over Matt Clowett, who's running second. So.
Yeah, Roger Clark is on those newer tires. As Daniel Stevens has slowed down to a slower pace here. Looks like he might have some issues here because his internet's been going in and out. And it looks like Daniel Stevens might have some real issues. So this car is in and out, and he's really slow down on the bottom of the track. He's being scored one lap down as he goes into the pits now currently. So we'll have to figure out what happened with him, but not exactly sure. That was a bit weird.
Yeah, I'm noticing James Zeitz battling with Riley Curtis, who brushes it up against the wall one more time, just for good measure. But James is the last car on the lead lap at the moment. So he's actually in danger of dropping a lap down at some point, battling away with Riley Curtis. Riley's actually still managing a fair bit of reasonable pace, although he's carrying a little bit of damage down that right-hand side. James Zeitz, I think, looks like he's carrying a fair bit of damage across the nose of his Ford Mustang GT. So, yeah. As James Zeitz on the outside line picks up the spot, takes Riley Curtis, pushes him back another spot. Next time across the line, it'll actually register James Zeitz in 14th position. But Bruce Smith continues to lead from Matt Clowett, with Daniel Greskowitz in third. Jason Martin now sitting fourth after Edward Foster had a little bit of an episode, washed off a fair bit of speed, but he's actually picked up a couple of spots from where he was now, back up to fifth place, with Drain Priest sixth, Stephen Williams seventh, Josh Micklemore eighth, and Norman Clark back to ninth now, so I'm not quite sure what's happened there, Ryan.
Josh Micklemore actually got into him a little bit coming off a couple of laps ago, and it got him kind of loose, and he's starting to drop real bad as his speed's starting to slow down, and he's also about half a second slower than Josh Micklemore. So it looks like the tires and that damage on that car is starting to catch up with him.
Yeah, that certainly would have hurt him. So, take a look through the field. Phil Otto's still hanging on to a top 10 spot. As Phil actually continues to battle with a couple of the guys around him. He's got, physically in front of him, I think that is actually, Daniel Stevens, I think. And he's got Darren McKenzie behind him in the 08 car.
Looks like Jason Martin is actually starting to try to make a pass here on Danny G. He's starting to size him up just a little bit as he runs right up on that back bumper of that MFR Camaro there with Danny G, and they're starting to line up, and it looks like Jason Martin is really trying to make a pass happen here through 3 and 4.
Yeah, actually, pardon me, it was the 6, not the 66, that Phil Otto's now actually passed him, so that's Norman Clark. So that actually, next time around, that'll actually swap their positions on the telemetry. With Norman Clark back in 9th, he will be back in 10th now, with Phil Otto up to 9th position. So poor old Norman Clark, he's actually slowly dropping back in this field for whatever reason it was, but he's certainly not comfortably running where he was earlier in this race after starting on pole.
Yeah, and it looks like Jason Martin is actually trying to make that pass happen now as Danny G just got a little loose coming off 4 as Jason Martin went down, and What also has happened is that because Jason Martin is locked in behind Danny G actually sped up a lot to try to catch up to Matthew Cloet, who has slowed down just a little bit. Matthew Cloet may have ran his tires just a little hard there at the beginning, and it has really started to affect him, and he just throws it down into the corner there, trying to make a creative gap between him, Danny G, and Jason Martin. So this battle for second is really starting to heat up here as we cross the line after 63 completed laps.
Oh, yeah, look, this is great stuff. Matt Cloet is being gained on hand over fist by Danny G, with Jason Martin right in behind him at the moment. So the two of those working well to get a little bit closer to the guy in second spot, Matt Cloet, who's... and Jason Martin moves down to the inside. It looked like he was going to make a pass on Danny G there for a minute, because he knows that Danny's probably going to get caught up behind Matt Cloet. But they've both moved down to the inside line now, which cuts off any way for Jason Martin to move in there. So, but they're back again, and Jason Martin just starts to pull up alongside Danny G. But it being on the outside line, Danny G's just got a little bit of an advantage there.
Yeah, and he's trying to catch up to Cloet here in that second position. Danny G, I think, is the fastest between three cars currently on that high line, but he's really fighting that car. That car is wicked loose, it looks like, especially through 3 and 4. But another note to put in your lunchbox here, you see we're getting close to where they were pitting last time. Last time they started pitting about 35 laps into the race. We had our first caution there on lap 37. We're now currently 20 laps. We're working about 25 laps after the caution, so we've got about 10 laps before we might start seeing some of these guys come in, maybe make their final stop for tonight, as we work lap 67 of 110 laps that are scheduled.
Yes, it's going to be interesting to see who's actually going to stay.
Oh, Danny G's in the wall, and Jason Martin actually got into him, and that's going to... Both of their cars are really messed up now, because that was a huge wreck. As we go to the replay, we're going to have a quick look back at that one. You can see they're coming through here, and Danny G just throws it into the turn 1 and 2. You always think you have a little more grip than you do, and he's got into the wall, and Jason Martin had nowhere to go, and that's going to run into him into the back of him, and both of their cars are going to have some damage for the rest of the race here now.
Great reaction from Jason Martin there. I mean, slow motion there of the incident just makes it look like he had all the time in the world, but I can guarantee you, sitting behind the wheel when the guy in front does that, yeah, there's not a lot of room to think. You just do.
Yeah, as we just checking back a little bit as we're looking at live pictures now, as we're still looking at the replay. Checking back now, we've got Josh Micklemore, who just made the pass on Edward Foster for that 5th position. So between Jason Martin and Josh Micklemore, they're trying to get the most cars passed in a single race. The pass that Josh Micklemore made was just recently, and his car is actually completely straight. So we might see him do really well in this race. We see a few guys go down into the pits. We got Matthew Cloet and Danny G both headed down to the pits for their final time of the race.
And Danny G drops through the field now because he's actually in the pits. He's obviously felt it's time to go in. I don't know whether he'll actually bother to repair any damage, but it's getting to the point of the race now. I think he's thinking about fuel and some fresh rubber. Try and get back out there and get competitive and pick up a couple of spots, knowing the others are going to have to pit at some point soon as well.
Yes, Matthew Cloet just did a real quick 4-tire stop. Danny G is going to do the same. He's going to have to fix some of that damage just a little bit, maybe make that car somewhat competitive here. And it looks like also he's going to have to serve a penalty because he didn't use his quick repair last time. He used his quick repair. He had to sit there for an extra 15 seconds, and that's really going to ruin his race. So Danny G, he's going to have some issues getting back through this one.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of ways to look at it. I mean, you could always say as well that he's used his quick repair, so He's cleaned up most of the damage. He's got fresh rubber, he's got fresh fuel, and he'll actually probably turn out to be the fastest guy out on track there for at least a few laps until everybody else starts to pit as well, I guess. So now's his chance to actually catch up some spots. Mind you, he's a lap down in 15th, so if he's got the advantage of the fresh rubber and the cleaner bodywork after using the fast repair, then I'd say that he's going to actually start to make up some spots pretty big. He'll get back up onto the lead lap before too long. It depends on how long most of these guys hold out before they actually do pit, Ryan.
Yeah, we'll see, because the longer you stay out, the more you're going to be losing pace. Currently, Matthew Cloet is the first car that is on new tires, and we'll see what he has lap time wise coming across the line here. He's going to end up with a 30.6. Leader Bruce Smith has a 31.9, so he's looking at almost a second and a half difference between old and new tires. So every lap that Matthew Cloet runs, he's going to have a second and a half, and eventually that's going to put him in front of Bruce Smith here.
Yeah.
If he stays out for too long.
As Jason Martin continues his charge, he must have... Where is he? Oh, he's up to second place. Sorry, I thought he must have pitted because I couldn't see him on the list. But no, he's in second place. Stephen Williams third. Edward Foster still positioned in fourth place. So that's a great effort from Edward. He's had a couple of hiccups tonight with a couple of minor things going wrong and pushing him a few spots back in the field. But back up into fourth spot at the moment with Dwayne Priest in fifth. Darren McKenzie sixth, Phil Otto up to seventh. That's great to see. Dave Douglas eighth, Josh Micklemore ninth, and then you've got the first of the lap down cars, which is now Matt Cloet, because I'm guessing he's actually gone into pit, is it?
Yeah, they've all, if they're a lap down, they've pitted. Josh Micklemore just pitted, so his position is not going to be reflected until he crosses the line. So he is not in ninth. He's going to be moved back a few positions. But everybody who is on a lead lap has yet to make their final stop of the race. Or it might not even be their final stop. It might have one more to go, depending on how the race pans out.
Yeah, you can see the difference there at the moment. Now I'm looking at Bruce Smith. And he's now pulling into the pits because James Zeitz down in 15th and 2 laps down absolutely he just embarrassed him with speed. So Bruce obviously suffering from tyres, I'm guessing. So the car looks fairly straight. I don't think he's had any incidents tonight. Looks like he's managed to keep it off the wall. So with fuel and tyres, I expect to see Bruce pretty much push his way back towards the front, Ryan.
Yeah, and Edward Foster... He didn't pit very well. We'll say that. He came into the pit and he ended up spinning it around and tapping the wall real good. So he's messed up that front end just a little bit. I don't think it's going to be too bad, but I know it's going to be a little bit of a laugh after the race to talk to him about it. He's not going to be too happy about it, but after the race, Edward, he's always got something to smile about.
Well, yeah, after he's got a couple of minutes to let the steam run out of his ears, I guess. But he'll be upset with himself about that. He'll know he's the only one to blame for that one, so he'll get on with it and make it happen. He knows what he's got to do for the rest of the race. And on lap 78, I believe it is, actually we're up to 79 as Darren McKenzie leads this one at the moment. Now we've just clicked over lap 80, so we have 30 laps remaining. And we've still got, 5 cars left on the lead lap, so those guys are obviously yet to pit. Bruce Smith is the first car a lap down, so when the cars in front of him, those top 5 do actually pit, you'll see Bruce Smith effectively move back to the lead of the race.
I don't know if he's going to move back to the lead of the race, because Matthew Cloet has already pitted, and he's ahead of Bruce Smith, like we were talking about earlier, and he's not even, Bruce Smith isn't close. Matthew Cloet has almost a straightaway lead because he pitted about 10 laps ago. So he's got about 10 laps on his tires. He's running a 31.1 currently, whereas Bruce Smith is running about a 30.6 to 30.7 on those brand new tires. So yeah, he's running a 30.8. So Matthew Cloet has a massive lead. He just ran a 31.3. If the race goes green, he might be able to keep up, but if not, Matthew Cloet might have gotten a really, really nice pit strategy there, because he is miles ahead of everybody.
Yeah,
currently showing 7 seconds ahead of Bruce Smith.
Yeah, sorry, mate. I didn't mean to cut you off there. I hadn't actually realised Matt Clark was in that bunch, so I was just looking at the 5 cars that were there and didn't actually notice him right in the middle of it. But Bruce Smith's got himself back on the lead lap now, and I'm just also looking at Jason Martin at the moment, who's sitting in about 5th spot, back on the lead lap. And Josh Micklemore a lap down, who's actually right behind him on track position. He's in 6th place, and he's actually trying to chase down Jason Martin. But both of them are on hot on the heels of Bruce Smith, who's sitting in 4th position. And we still currently have Darren McKenzie leading this from Dave Douglas in 2nd and Matt Cloet in 3rd. And we know that Matt Cloet's got newer rubber and more fuel on board.
Yeah, Matt Cloet is the first car who has pitted. And we see he's really starting to make up all that ground that Dave Douglas and Darren McKenzie are leaving out there on the table. Dave Douglas is currently made his pit stop, so he will start to drop on your timing score there. Darren McKenzie is still the only one. Oh, he actually missed his pit stall. He actually missed coming into the pits. It looks like he tried to come into the pits, but he just got really, really loose coming off 4 and spun it around, so that's not going to help his day out at all.
And in order to avoid any chance of a penalty for an incorrect pit entry, he's actually driven around in a half circle and re-entered the pit correctly, which is probably smart. I mean, it's no good continuing on from the position he was in, because if he'd gotten a pit penalty for the incorrect entry or unsafe entry, he may very well have had to come back in again, and he would have had to serve that under green. He couldn't, so not much chance that he would have actually benefited out of that. It would have actually hurt him twice as hard as what he just did. So he's now exiting the pits. Still got him listed as being in 2nd, but I've got a feeling next time across the line he will actually drop a couple of more spots, as he does right about now, as the others actually all get across the line. So we see Matt Cloet leading this one from Bruce Smith, Jason Martin in 3rd, Josh Micklemore 4th, Mirko Doutnak up to 5th, Stephen Williams 6th, Norman Clark back up to 7th. That's great to see. With Dwayne Priest 8th, Danny G in 9th, Edward Foster 10th. What have we got? Dave Douglas 11th, as Bruce Smith passes Darren McKenzie, who now is, he's a lap down because that 2nd place has just passed him.
Yeah, and the thing Matt Cloet wants right now is, more than anything, is a caution, as he just saw Jason Martin hit the wall there coming off of 2. But the biggest thing that he wants right now is he wants a caution. So does Darren McKenzie. Darren McKenzie would love a caution right now, so that he can stay on these tires and get his lap back, and everybody else is going to pit. But also, Matt Cloet wants to get on even tires. Right now, he's running a 31.6 to Bruce Smith's 30.94. So Bruce Smith is on his way back to taking that lead, and Matt Cloet is right now sitting like a duck, because he is currently about almost 20 laps on these tires, where everybody else is just about 10.
Yeah, so a caution is obviously going to benefit a couple of these guys. Bruce Smith, of course, will be real happy if there isn't one, because he's flying at the moment on that fresh rubber and not really needing any assistance from pace cars or anything like that, as he puts another lap on Phil Otto. Bill's sitting back in 13th now. He's had a little bit of an up and down one. It was great to see him in the towards the front there earlier, but we got Matt Cloet and Bruce Smith now, and Bruce will actually make the pass his tyres will actually help him there. He'll take first back from Matt Clowett. Matt really has got to hope for another pace car period. Bunch the field up and slow Bruce down while he actually gets in there and gets some more rubber on the car to be a bit more competitive to close out the last 20 or so laps of this race.
Yeah, it was actually Darren McKenzie. Bruce Smith is still behind him right now. He's starting to size him up for that first position here. Darren McKenzie was just unlapping himself. But Matthew Clowett knows this track all too well as he is just going to continue making sure he didn't get the highline, but he actually puts himself into the wall, and it's going to make it easy for Bruce Smith to take the lead here in the race here. We're completing lap 91 here as Matthew Clowett tried to go underneath. It looked like he was about to try to go for it, but not so much. And you're going to see Bruce Smith here just kind of starting to walk away from Matthew Clowett as we work lap 91 of 110 laps.
A great view just a minute ago there out the back of Bruce Smith's car at the front of Matt Clowett's vehicle. Yeah, fantastic camera view. As we go on board now with what appears to be, is that James Zott? That says Matthew Clowett. Okay, so we're on board with Matt Clowett. And yeah, that's just looking pretty good. There's a bit of a gap there. Bruce Smith's just pulling away from him with that better tyre, better rubber. We'll just have to wait and see and hope we've only got more 18 laps to go. So Matt is going to suffer on those tyres, unfortunately. Bruce Smith's just got a little bit of an edge because he pitted about 15 to 20 laps later.
As we start to see battle for 6th is starting to heat up, or battle for 7th is starting to heat up between some teammates here. You got Edward Foster and Dave Douglas both right on top of each other for that 7th and 8th position. Those RCD cars, they were really fast at Talladega, finishing 1-2 with these two up at the front. Edward Foster taking his first ANZCAR win here in the Xfinity Series. So it's really interesting to see he's used that and really started to get some really good finishes out of it. Currently in the 7th position here at Kansas.
Yeah, so he actually, Edward Foster, as you were saying, in 7th place, leading Dave Douglas in 8th. Danny G still plugging away. He's back up to 9th position now. And Norman Clark still holding on to a top 10 spot. So, yeah, just one of those up and down nights, I guess, for Norman. Starting on pole, and he's been up and down all the way through the field. I think at some point he's had just about every position in the field. And back up at 10th position now, with James Zeitz back up to 11th. Although he's, according to what I've got here, he's just been passed by Darren McKenzie. So James Zeitz back to 12th. Phil Otto in 13th. Daniel Stevens 14th, and from Phil Otto onwards, they're a lap down. Mirko Doutnak one down on 15th. Riley Curtis 16th at 2 laps down. And it looks like, is Roger Clark actually out there, or is he put it on the transporter? It looks like he's actually retired for the night.
Yeah, and you get currently, if you're joining us late here, it's a late Friday, Thursday night here, and currently got Bruce Smith leading this race. We're working lap 97 of 110, so not much longer until Bruce Smith is going to take this win. Jason Martin currently running in that 3rd position, started in the 15th position. Josh Minklemore started in 16th position, running 4th. Stephen Williams started in the 14th position and finishing 5th. So it looked like it was just a case of if you started in the back, you didn't really get caught up in the mess, because everybody who started in 8th, 9th, 6th, 12th, and 5th are all lapped down or out of the race, whereas everybody who started in 15th, 16th, 14th, 11th, those are the guys who are rounding up the top 10 there.
Like Jason Martin. Martin and Josh Micklemore, who I know Jason started back in about, 15th or 17th or something. Currently sitting 3rd with Josh Micklemore right behind him on 4th. Or in 4th, pardon me, but Bruce Smith leading this one from Matt Clowett. And Bruce has got about 10.5 laps to go before he claims victory in this final round of the Thursday Night Thunder Series, hosted by ANZCAR and streamed live on RRTV, thanks to APCS.
Matthew Cloet has almost put it into the wall. He did put it in the wall, and his car is going all the way across the field, and that's going to ruin his second place finish that he had going. He had just tapped the wall the lap before, and Riley Curtis behind him is about to wreck too. It is all going on right now. Oh my gosh, it looks like a speedway out here with Riley Curtis and Matthew Cloet. They're all over the place. We watch the replay for Matthew Cloet coming off turn 4, and Riley Curtis has ended up throwing it into the inside wall. Will not bring out a yellow.
Okay, well, that's good news. No, yeah, well, it's bad news for Matt Cloet, actually, because he could have done with it. Those tyres would be getting a little bit beyond.
Oh, yellow come out. Yellow. James Zeitz. James Zeitz ended up into the wall, and he did exactly what we saw earlier with our first incident, but it has caught up Matthew Cloet in it also, and this is going to bunch up the field for the final couple of laps or so. I'm not sure exactly what James Zeitz was doing there at the bottom of it.
Yeah, not sure. We've got 10 laps to go, so by the time we go green, we're probably looking at around 7 or 8 laps, and the field bunched up, and just about everybody on fresh rubber. So that's going to make it pretty interesting, Ryan.
Yeah. So it's going to make it super interesting. Ooh. I just really have no idea what James Zeitz was doing there after he wrecked. He wrecked, and then he just kind of kept rolling down the field, and it collected Matthew Cloet, and it gave him even more damage.
Yeah, no, well, Matt won't be too happy about that, seeing him roll down the track in front of him. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what James was doing with that. But, yeah, look, that's 9 laps to go. We've got, probably 7 or 8. We'll have competitive laps as long as nobody else has a bit of a sneeze. And it's going to be a drag race to the finish, Ryan, because everybody should be on fresh rubber and bunched up together from behind the pace car.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if somebody does a different strategy and doesn't, they all stay out. But it looks like a lot of these guys are just going to try to get their lap back, as Daniel Stevens does get the lucky dog. So that will put him back to the lead lap, and he'll get a chance to get fresh rubber. But it looks like everybody's just going to stay out here.
Yeah, I actually was sort of had it halfway in my mind that Bruce Smith would stay out for that last 7 or 8 laps under green on the tyres and fuel that he had. But he's actually opted to go in and get some fresh rubber on, knowing full well that Matt Cloet's going to have brand new tyres on. So it's probably just playing it safe more than anything. He's got the front position. With the fresh rubber on there, it's just going to make it a little bit more difficult for anybody to pass him and take the win. So probably a prudent move on Bruce's part, I would think.
Yeah, everybody came in and got some tires. Biggest thing is that Josh Micklemore moved up 2 positions. He'll actually start in the 2nd position. That's going to put Jason Martin on the inside at 3rd, and Matthew Cloet might actually be able to stay in front of Jason Martin as he will restart in that 4th position. So it's going to be interesting to see these final couple of laps here, and we're going to see see what's going to happen, because it's going to get really rowdy really quickly. Hopefully it stays green for these final couple of laps so we can race it out. Yeah, so Darren McKenzie did not stop during that run, so that's actually works out really good for Jason Martin, because now he will not start on the outside. He's actually going to start on the inside. So disregard everything I just said. This is actually the worst for Josh Micklemore. Josh Micklemore is going to be on the inside line, following a guy who last pitted on lap number 85. So his tires have almost 30 laps on them, 20 laps right now. So his last fast lap was a 32.0, where these guys are going to be running close to qualifying times at 30.3, 30.4 times. So he's going to really have to hope for a caution But it might help him out a little bit because he was running in the 11th position, so he might be able to get some of those positions back just by virtue of being out there, not having enough times for some of these guys. So it might help him out in the long run, but I don't see him winning this race.
Even Darren McKenzie you're talking about?
Yeah, that's the guy I've been talking about.
Even sitting at the front there with those tyres on it. He's got guys around him on fresh rubber. It's going to be very tough. I think the lights are still on the pace car. No, they've gone off now, so next time around we'll be going green. That's going to make it about 4 laps under green, and I don't think he's going to actually be able to hold out Bruce Smith, who's just gone and done a pit stop. So Darren McKenzie's taken the gamble, and I've got a feeling he's going to end up way back in the field out of all this because he's going to get swamped on this restart.
Yeah, it's just about what I was talking about. He's going to hope and pray for he finishes above 11th position because that's where he was. Do look for him to just kind of dump it out of the gate, and Jason Martin is going to want to try to get that outside line away from Josh Miclemore, and he's going to really try his best to stay on that outside lane as the pace car drops off here, and we'll see Darren McKenzie take the lead, and he's going to do exactly what I was thinking, just try to jump ahead and try to get ahead of everybody, try to get as much space in between him and the field because they're going to be coming very quickly. As we see Josh Miclemore, he's going to try for that bottom line, try to take away that position away from Bruce Smith, but Darren McKenzie's going to essentially block Bruce Smith as you start to see those new tires and the lead is changed now, and they are wrecking in the back. No caution just yet. Oh, it is a caution, and that's going to bring Josh Miclemore to the win. It actually depends on how they score it. Bruce Smith might have been the last leader, so I'm not sure exactly how they're going to score this at all. But this will finish the race.
I've got Bruce Smith listed in first with Josh Miclemore second, but be interesting to see what happens as they go across the line next time around, and whether Bruce Smith is right where he is or whether Josh Miclemore is being told to pass him. I'm not sure. They were side by side, so it's going to be touch and go as to who was actually had their nose in front of it at the moment that the flag came out.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what happened, but Matthew Clowett just kind of drove right off the track and just stopped in the infield. And I'm not sure exactly what happened with this car or whatnot, but he just drove it straight off the track and just stopped it. But that shouldn't have brought up the yellow. I'm not exactly sure what did bring out this yellow. But if their screens are correct, Bruce Smith has won this race, and Darren McKenzie has come out really nice with this pit call.
Well, that's really unfortunate because the final race of the series, it's been a fantastic series, and to see it complete under caution like this is a little bit upsetting, a little bit depressing, but that's racing. It's the way it happens. I mean, little things happen further back in the field, and the front guys didn't actually get a chance to go hammer and tong side by side and race each other to the checkered flag, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to look back and see what happened here. What did bring out this caution? Because I saw two guys they both just straight off the straightaway. It was Matt Clowett. He just went straight off, and then Dave Douglas did the same sort of thing, where he was going straight. Him and Daniel Stevens got into it, and he managed to wreck it there, but I'm not sure that would have brought out the yellow. This is really odd that this yellow even came out in the first place, because I don't see anything from my vision that shows anything that should have brought out a yellow.
Well, I didn't see anything on track, like cars spinning, cars crashing into the wall, cars parked on the track. I certainly didn't see anything that I thought would have actually brought out a caution, but the track officials have actually seen it differently, and We've got the caution, so that's how we're going to finish as we get ready to actually go around for the final time. We're on lap 109 at the moment. So a little bit of an anticlimax to the final race of the season. But, you know, that's the way it goes. Once again, I'll give a mention to APCS, who supported a lot of things that ANZCAR do, and being the series sponsors. That's Advanced PC and Simulations, and you'll find them at advancedpcandsimulations.com.au. So check them out if you're after any computer parts or a build for an entire system. Also, Shane out there is looking at some, he's got some stuff happening with sim racing cockpits. So have a word to him out there about that as well. That's at APCS, Advanced PC and Simulations, series sponsor for the Thursday Night Thunder Series 1 2018.
Yeah, and the fact they gave the win to Bruce Smith, if I'm Josh Micklemore, I would be extremely salty because he was ahead of him the entire time throughout that entire bit, but it just gave Bruce Smith the edge there. So that whole sequence of events, not sure exactly what happened, but it gave Bruce Smith the win, and he did lead the most laps. He dominated this race from start to finish, started in third. Once he got that lead, he never looked back. So good race on him.
Sorry, mate, the person who really benefited out of all that, Darren McKenzie, will be wearing a smile like a split watermelon at the moment.
Yeah, it'll be his first for this series also. So we've had a couple of firsts who have come out and win. But I'm sure Jason Martin is not exactly happy with how this race went or how it ended up. So it's just kind of sucks.
I don't think Jason had any great expectations of tonight, to be perfectly honest. In fact, we'll talk to him in post-race interview maybe if we get the chance, but to find out. But I've got a feeling he'd probably be happy with being where he is, and was probably surprised to get that far up the field. But especially the way he started the evening. So Edward Foster back in sixth. So finishing order: Bruce Smith first, Josh Micklemore second, Darren McKenzie third. That's your podium for the final round of the Thursday Night Thunder Series, hosted by ANZCAR, sponsored by APCS, and brought to you by RRTV, streamed live. And we'll get the chance. We'll actually have a bit of a word with a couple of our podium sitters there at the moment, and if we get a chance, speak with either Edward or Danny G, or even Roger if he's around, being the race admins, and get their impressions of how they think the series may have gone. Norman Clark, our pole sitter, finished 9th for the night, which was a bit unfortunate, but that's just one of those up and down evenings. But he'll be happy to have started where he did and get such a great start to the race, and sitting on pole position. Norman would be pretty happy with that, I would imagine. Just a shame that the rest of the race didn't go quite as to plan.
Yep, so we'll let these guys get wound down. Bruce Smith does his honorary victory burnouts, as he will be the final race winner here in the 2017 season of the Thursday Night ANZCAR Series. I don't think you're supposed to do that, Bruce. They kind of wanted that car back. Supposed to take the win there and take it back home so you can race it again. But it looks like he thinks that rules change is going to end up next year, so he may not need this car anyways.
He figures he's got a few weeks to get it back to the workshop and get it fixed. So yeah.
Yeah, and also a little mention to Jason Martin there. You know, Bruce Smith may have won the battle, but Jason Martin did win the war. He's our 2017 champion, and it's not close. We're 2018, aren't we? Yeah, it's my bedtime, that's for sure.
Time zone's not that far off, mate.
Yeah.
Thanks to you, Ryan. I mean, I know you're a bit under the weather tonight. Your allergies are playing up. You're just not well. and you've managed to stick it out and give us some great entertainment and commentary tonight. So, yeah, full marks to you, mate. Thanks very much for sticking it out and doing that for us. That's great stuff, and as usual, great commentary. So thanks very much for that. As Bruce Smith continues to celebrate winning the final race of the season. Well, how about we get our series champion up? Mr. Director, you want to... And we've got Mr. Jason Martin in the comm box. How are you? Congratulations. I know you pretty much had the series wrapped up as it was, but it's now official, and we've completed the final race of the season. So congratulations for winning the championship, Jason. As far as tonight's concerned, did you sort of meet or exceed your expectations at this track?
I was hoping for a top 3 at least, but yeah, I'll take a top 5. I don't really like these top line tracks. They're a bit hard to pass on, so if you get back in the pack, it can be real hard to make up ground.
Yeah, you managed to get yourself up into top. Well, I think you were second there at one point. So you did manage to actually work your way and race your way up to the pointy end, but a couple of changes and a couple of cautions certainly saw things slip back a little bit. But you finished in 4th, and that's a pretty creditable way to finish a race where you didn't have that great a qualifying session and started to right pretty much almost at the back of the field.
Yeah, that was a shocking lap.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought you'd been too happy with it, but it's the way it goes, mate. You got to have a bad one every so often.
Yep, and of course it would be at this track, one of the ones I hate.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant when I was asking about your expectations for tonight. But look, you finished where you would hope to finish. You pulled the series off, yeah, look, it was a good night all round. I mean, we had a couple of late cautions and a couple of early ones, but apart from that, there was a lot of green flag racing tonight. So, did you actually enjoy the runner you had out there while it was on?
Yeah, that was a good fun race. It's a shame about that last caution though, because that was going to be a real good finish.
We were looking forward to it too. We were only a little bit concerned about Darren McKenzie because he didn't actually take that pit stop on that last caution. So his tyres had about 25 laps or so on them, and we were a bit concerned about how he was going to go for the last 7 laps under green, and ended up getting another caution. So we ended up finishing that way. So didn't get to see the big drag race, the big climactic finish at the end of the season that we were kind of hoping for. So, but is there anybody you want to give a shout out to, Jason?
I just got to thank RRTV for the series, for broadcasting it, and got to thank ANZCAR for putting on a wonderful series and all the drivers that took part.
It's, Ryan, have you got any questions for Jason before he goes?
Not much. I mean, it looks like you answered about everything that I was going to ask him anyway. So, looks like you got about what I was looking for.
All right, no worries then. All right, Jason. Look forward to seeing you in action again next season. It kicks off in a few weeks' time. We're just waiting for the announcement for the schedule for the series, so that we know what we're doing and all that sort of stuff. There's some big things coming in Series 2 for ANZCAR in all the vehicles, so we're looking forward to getting the Thursday Night Thunders back up and running again as well in a few weeks. So we look forward to seeing you then.
All right, thanks, mate. It's going to be a good series next when it starts.
Yeah, no worries at all. Thanks, Jason Martin. Congratulations to our 2018 Series 1 Thursday Night Thunder Xfinity champion.
It looks like we're going to bring in Roger Clark here, talk about the final points and how he felt like the series went as one of the organizers here. So, Roger, how do you think the series went? We know how your night didn't go to plan, but let's talk about how the series in total went.
Yeah, how's it going, guys? Oh, yeah, no, tonight was a bit abysmal. I'm not feeling 100%, so rather pulled off rather than become a mobile roadblock. Yeah, the series, though went really well, I think. I know all the admins are all sort of, looking forward to the next set of series and everything like that. But yeah, I think it's sort of been quite a good series. Yeah.
So yeah, it looked like out there, tonight didn't end the way we think it should have, but that's with iRacing. You can't really do much of anything. But overall, I know your race didn't go to plan, but from what did you see? Did you enjoy the racing?
I did. I was happy to get a bit of speed out of the car. I had a bit of an accident. Sort of, I think it was on lap 3. I kind of nudged the wall going through the centre of 1 and 2, and that sort of broke all my aero. And then bit of a touch up with old who was it? James Zeitz, and the big save and everything like that. But that sort of wore off the tyres, and then the next lap around, I was just into that little jutty bit of wall at the end of 4, and came around, and again bad judgment on my part in the pit stop. I only put on 2 tyres on the right, and basically the car wanted to turn on itself. So yeah, that was sort of the story of my night.
Right on. Well, do you have anybody you want to thank for the year for you?
Yeah, RRTV for putting on the broadcast, Track Cams for Gourmets for the camera packs that we've been using. The boys at ANZCAR, the admins are always real, they're always working real hard out. The commentators, you, Ryan, for your early mornings. Old Steve-O, the voice of the unofficial voice of ANZCAR. The drivers, without them we wouldn't be anything. Team I run for, MFR, all our sponsors, RRTV, Auto Kings, WP Concreting, all those guys. But yeah, sort of also going forward, Sunday night I'll put out a bit of an announcement on the web page for what we're up to for the next few weeks, whilst we get everything in place for the new series of trucks, K&N and Thunder.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Also, don't forget Coke 600 this weekend. For anyone wanting to jump in there, be in before qualifying starts, because we do a live qualifying, which is quite good. And then generally when that wraps up, there's a bit of a pre-race interview and everything like that. And the other thing for guys to keep an eye out on, next week we start our series with racingleagues.com, which is going to be super late models on road tracks. First round is Zolder, and we're going to try and sort of do our version of staged races for that, because we were wanting to look at short races with a reverse grid, but unfortunately iRacing doesn't allow us that. So sort of mid-race we'll call a yellow flag and let everyone bunch up again, and yeah, hopefully that'll put on some good racing. So yeah, that's sort of what's going on going forward.
Well, look, that sounds great. There's some great stuff coming up on ANZCAR, I can tell everybody that's watching and listening right now that the next round of series are going to be some pretty cool stuff happening. So stay tuned.
Right on. So it looks like we're going to bring in Edward Foster here for the final car of the year, or we're not. I think we're going to start talking about points. Alrighty. So it looks like we're going to bring in Edward Foster, and we're going to go through the results and the final points for the year here.
How are you, Edward?
Not too bad, guys. How you going?
Not too bad. How was your impressions of how the race went tonight?
That was just really, really entertaining, I thought. I hope it looked that way from the outside, but to drive in, it was absolutely great. Obviously, had had a pretty ordinary qualifying, started from right down the back and managed to get up and pass some cars and really get that high line working and make my way up, and made a mistake in the pits and then had to do it again. There are a couple of guys there that I reckon I passed about 3 times tonight. So I had a really good battle with Daniel Stevens. I had a great battle with a couple of other guys as well, and it was just really, really enjoyable.
Yeah, no, it was a bit of a mixed night for a few people. I mean, poor old Norman Clark scored pole position tonight, which was great to see. But yeah, he had a bit of an up and down race, working his way up and down literally through the field. So ended up, I think he finished in, 9th. So he still finished inside the top 10. But it was great to see Norman on pole. It was a pretty good lap and a pretty good time. But your race a little bit mixed fortunes. You were up and down, a couple of minor incidents. A bit of a letdown, the caution period for those last few laps. We were hoping for up at the com box anyway, we were hoping for a big climactic drag race to the end, but unfortunately it just didn't come.
Yeah, we were hoping for that too. I think everybody was hoping for that, but unfortunately, there are a few guys. I was one of them who had issues tonight with the screens locking up and going blank, and that's what happened to Matty at the end. Unfortunately for him, so if the caution looked a bit strange, it's because his screen actually blanked out and he couldn't see a thing. Same thing happened to Danny Stevens about half distance. The same thing actually happened to me quite early on when I was running up in front of Jason Martin. And I sort of was lucky enough that by the time that my system had sorted itself out, I was still on the track and still running, but those guys weren't so lucky. So, just one of those things with sim racing, I suppose. You are at the mercy of your equipment, very much the same as you are in real life motorsport, and sometimes it plays your way and sometimes it doesn't. So, it would have been wonderful to have that 5-lap hard run right there at the end. I was pretty optimistic of making up some spots if that had happened, because I've been reasonably well able to overtake people all night. But I'd already made up 2 by the time the yellow came out, and we were only a little way down the road. So it would have been nice, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, strangely enough, Matt Cloud had exactly the same issue in the Cars of Tomorrow race a couple of Tuesdays ago.
He did indeed, yeah.
His screens blacked out completely at Talladega, and he went to the infield. Whether he could even see that he was going to the infield, I don't know, but and then ended up pointing his way back onto the inside line on the track. And, he apparently had no vision whatsoever. So, that was a bit strange. So he's obviously got some issues to look at as far as that's concerned before the next season kicks off, so that he doesn't have to have his races affected in that way, I guess. So, but that's something he's just going to have to sort out himself. But look, it was a great race. It was just a shame about the yellow finish for the last race of the year, but there's been some fantastic racing, a great season. It's very easy to be happy with the season that this has just taken place. It's great racing, great quality of driving. Little things happen, but that's motor racing. So, I think, being an ANZCAR admin myself, I'm pretty proud of what has been put together and what you guys actually organised, and that ANZCAR's got its name on, because it's just been some fantastic racing and a very quality series. You must be absolutely stoked with the way it's all come down.
Yeah, I'm over the moon with it. I honestly couldn't be happier with how it's gone. We've gone from running one series, one broadcast series, and a couple of other smaller ones just on the side. Now we're running 4 series with a real structure of promotion and relegation, and good guys working their way up into the top levels, and a real progression for those guys who've got the capability. And it's just a testament to the effort that all the guys put in. And obviously Roger had a bad night tonight, having to pull out because he was feeling ill, but he's put in a huge amount of work, and Danny G, and obviously yourself, Steve, and not to mention RRTV and all the work that Bernie does and everything, putting us out into the general public can view us. And we've got Ryan staying up till all hours of the morning, and Gary and Brad who stay up till all hours of the morning to commentate on the cup races for us as well. So it's a massive team effort from everybody, and genuinely couldn't could not be happier with how it's going, and it's only going to get better. You know, we've got massive plans for everything coming along. It's going to be bigger and better next season, and hopefully it just continues to grow and grow and grow because, we're loving every minute of it.
Well, that's it. Yeah, look, as somebody who runs in the truck series, when the split was made with the Thunder, what I really found was impressive. And anybody who's listening, who's looking at joining any of the series next year, and you want to kick off in the trucks and get into the Xfinity later on. Look, that by no means is it a rookie series. I can tell you, like, we've got some brand new guys in there. We've got some fresh faces that have done some racing but have never raced in that series or with ANZCAR before. By all means, as the old saying goes, do yourself a favour and get into that truck series on Monday nights when it kicks off again in 2 or 3 weeks' time. Because to be honest, everybody makes a mistake once in a while. Sometimes it's circumstances, sometimes it's mechanical, sometimes it's technical. But I've got to tell you, the quality of the driving in that truck series, it's certainly not like any rookie series or anything like that. It's really a quality series all on its own feet. And then, you know, the quality in this series, I think, has really shone through. Plus the other series that are going on at the moment with the Cup coming up on Saturday for the Coke 600. It's just going great guns at ANZCAR at the moment. So great to have RRTV and the associated series sponsors along as well. So hard work from everybody involved, as Edward said, and that's what's produced some great racing and some quality series, I think.
Yeah, I agree, and we've got big plans for the truck series as well. You know, we don't just want it to feature as a development series for the Thunder. It always will remain in that role, but it's also we want to build it into a great series in its own right. That people who may not be available to race on a Thursday night or just really enjoy driving the trucks, that they may be wanting to stay in season after season. So there's got a live broadcast coming up for next season and so on. So it's future's looking good.
Yeah, no, it looks sounds good. Well, I'll hand over to Bernie. He wants to do some points, and we'll finalise the way things have turned out.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Steve. Yeah, the first thing, folks, let's go through the final results of tonight's race. It finished on a little bit of an anticlimax, but all in all, the race was absolutely awesome. So Bruce Smith in the number 13 takes the win at yellow on the checkered there. So he led 93 laps. Josh Micklemore comes home second at the line. When the yellow came out, they were separated by 1/100th of a second. So Josh nearly snatched the win there. Darren McKenzie finishes in third, and he led 9 laps. Then we had in fourth tonight Jason Martin, fifth Stephen Williams. Edward Foster comes home in sixth. Seventh is Danny G. Eighth is Dwayne Priest. Then ninth was Norman Clark, was on pole but did not have the pace in the race tonight. Daniel Stevens, he comes home in 10th. 11th, Mirko Dortnack. James Eitz comes home in 12th position. 13th is Dave Douglas. 14th, Phil Otto. Matt Clowett, he comes home in 15th. We're still not sure why he stopped on those final laps. Riley Curtis, 16th. 17th was Roger Clark, who, unfortunately, as you said, Roger, you're a little bit ill tonight, mate. So let's go through the final points as they stand now, folks. Roger's been working behind the scenes and he's tallied all those points. So you can see them on your screen at the moment. So congratulations goes to Jason Martin. He takes out the series on 606 points. Josh Micklemore comes home in second on 542 points. Dave Douglas, he did move up a position to take third on 500 points. Steve Williams also moved up a position to finish in fourth on 493. Thomas Hinds, well, he wasn't here tonight, so he suffered the consequences and dropped 2 positions to finish in fifth on 479 points. Edward Foster up 1 position to finish in sixth on 459 points. Danny G also up a position tonight to finish in 7th on 454 points. 8th, Matthew Clowett drops 2, and he finishes on 453 points. We've got Darren McKenzie 9th. Rounding out your top 10 was Riley Curtis. So that's the final results there, folks.
Yeah, look, fantastic stuff. With the positions swapping around a little bit and getting a good result for the series. With such a strong field, Bernie, it's a little bit difficult to really say anything other than it's just been great racing by everybody concerned.
Oh, it's absolutely awesome racing. It has been all season, and I'm really excited to see what next season brings, because it's definitely shaping up to be absolutely awesome. The racing tonight was great, and you know, we're getting a lot of these green runs, and that's exactly what we want, and we want the close finishes. So, folks, looking ahead, tomorrow night, really, we've got the Australian Online Supercar Championship coming to you live. It's going to come on a little bit early because we've got the Grid Talk pre-race show. That'll be brought to you by, I've got blank now. Nick Hausler and Wayne Pengilly will be bringing you that, and then I will be commentating with somebody else who I've got to find yet. So that's tomorrow night around about 6:45 p.m. That'll kick off. It's the Gilles Villeneuve 650 Enduro race, and the guys will definitely be licking their wounds after last week's action-packed Zolder sprint race, that's for sure. Then moving into Saturday, we have the Cup Series. And Roger, what time do we kick that off on Saturday afternoon?
The qualifying, you just caught me a bit.
Yeah, I know. I'm like that. It's cool.
Oh, that's good. I'll just quickly pull it up. Qualifying starts at 4:20 NZ time, so I think that is 2:20 Eastern.
Yep.
And like I say, that's a live qualifying, so everybody's going to go out and get their 2 laps. They'll be called out to do the laps as we did at the Bristol race. The race itself starts at 3 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. NZ.
Yep. So
practice is at 10 to 1 Eastern and 10 to 3 NZ.
So if you want to tune in, folks, to the live broadcast, we'll be kicking off at 2:10 p.m. GMT plus 10, and that'll be on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. I wish we could send it to Twitter, and Mixer, of course. So you can watch that. Then 10 o'clock Saturday night, we'll have Wee Han Chan and Scott Newton back to call the Sim Races Asia series. So still a lot of racing ahead this week. But all in all, I should also thank the guys that organised this series, Steve, the voice of ANZCAR, as well as Ryan. He's up, I don't know what time it is there, must be about 8:30 a.m. American time. So thanks to all you guys as well to help make this broadcast happen.
Can I do a quick plug?
Yeah,
I'd like to give a little bit of a quick plug to the Truck Series sponsor, 131 Web Radio. Saturday morning, 7 a.m. till 9 a.m. Saturday morning, Australian Eastern, which I think works out to be something like 9 p.m. Friday night GMT. If you don't get sick of the sound of my voice, check it out. 131 Web Radio on 131 Retro, which is the actual station. 70s and 80s. Disco 12-inch mixes for 2 hours, and you'll have me blurbing on about it in between. So if you don't get sick of the sound of my voice, check that out if you're awake between 7 and 9 on a Saturday morning.
I'm going to tune into that. That's going to be absolutely awesome, Steve. But anyway, folks, thanks to everyone who turned up tonight to watch the final round. Hope you have enjoyed our telecast. Very special thanks also to Steve Hoppett and Ryan Shelton for calling tonight's race. But on behalf of Roger, Edward Foster, we've got Ryan Shelton here. Steve Quasi Hobbit is in the room. Daniel G. Thanks, everybody. We'll catch up with you soon. Good night.
Yeah, thank you, Benny.